Great. So a little bit about us. We're Fay Business Systems Group. We've been doing consulting and development for more than 25 years. We're a Sugar Gold partner. We're one of the leading providers of sugar integrations with a lot of different products. QuickBooks, obviously, a few other ERP software packages, Sage 100, Intact, Vantage. And in addition, we've done integrations with Constant Contact, Authorize.net, and quite a few other products. Our team is all in-house. Our developers and our support team are all here in Southern California. We've done hundreds of successful implementations and integrations over the years in the CRM and ERP space. Some of our services, as you might imagine, we're a full-service shop relating to sugar and ERP solutions. So we do implementations, configuration, training, custom development, special projects, all that kind of stuff. Sugar. Some of you online may know about Sugar, some may not. Sugar is the fastest growing CRM company in the world. It's been around for almost 10 years, more than 1 million users across the world. Sugar is especially strong in Europe and Canada. And we're actually excited about our Sugar integration because now it actually is compatible with QuickBooks Canada. Nice things about Sugar are some of the deployment options. It could be hosted in the cloud or on-premise. Sugar hosts it as part of its standard offering. You could also have it hosted at Amazon or Rackspace or anywhere else you want. As I said, you can also download it and install it on your server. The cost is the same regardless of how you deploy it. We found it to be the most customizable and flexible CRM solution in the market. There's a lot of tools within Sugar. You don't have to be a developer to customize it. But if you want to, you can be a developer and customize it. It's open source, which means you can make it do anything you want pretty much. In addition, the costs are pretty reasonable, starting at $35 per user per month. Intuit, again, many of you online probably know about Intuit, but they're the leading provider of accounting software in the small and medium-sized business space. They've been doing this for more than 30 years with more than 4 million customers worldwide. And the software has accounting, warehouse management, a lot of vertical market solutions. So our integration, there's a nice pretty screen of our integration options page. Our integration is compatible with QuickBooks Pro, Premier, and Enterprise. It currently works with the US and Canadian versions. We're also in the process of making it compatible with the versions for a few other parts of the world. It works with Sugar hosted on demand or in-house, and everything syncs on a scheduler. The default is every 10 minutes, but you can make it every 2 minutes if you want, or every hour if you want, or once a day. We have clients using this that have it all over the place. Some of the key features of the integration include the ability to synchronize customer data back and forth, inventory items back and forth, synchronizing sales and invoice history from QuickBooks into Sugar, taking quotes and sales orders entered in Sugar and sending them into QuickBooks as estimates or sales orders. We've also recently added the ability to enter invoices in Sugar and have them go into QuickBooks as an invoice as well. Some of the features of the advanced integration include syncing some of the advanced inventory features of QuickBooks, which are quantities by location, customer pricing tables, multiple ship-tos, and things like that. In addition, multi-currency features are available. So if you're in a quote in Sugar, you can pick the currency you want that quote to be in, and then that currency will transfer into QuickBooks. And lastly, one of the key things is you can customize the standard mapping. So if you have a custom field in QuickBooks, either in the customer file or the inventory file, you can create a comparable field on the Sugar side and have them sync to each other. And with that, we'll get to the demo. All right, give me a moment here to click into where we need, whoops, we don't need to go there. Okay. So our Sugar QuickBooks integration requires 3 components. QuickBooks, which we can see here. This is Christy. Sugar, which you can see here. There's a Sugar home screen. And then the third component is the QuickBooks web connector. And so the web connector is the tool that links Sugar and QuickBooks together. And the web connector runs in the background. And as I said, it's configured to run every 10 minutes, but you can configure it to run at different times. So when you first install the integration, you would go into Sugar after you run the install. And I'm going to show you just a little bit about how easy it is to set up. So I'm on the admin screen here. You'll notice at the bottom of the screen, there's a QuickBooks integration configuration option. And you would click that. And this is where you configure the integration. So it asks you for a couple pieces of information. It asks you for the product key, which we give you. It asks you where the Sugar URL is. It asks you to download a setup file. And the setup file goes with the web connector. And that's pretty much it for configuring Sugar in terms of after the installation. Then there's some selections you can make on the configuration screen. The first question it asks you is, which is the master system, QuickBooks or Sugar? That means if there's differences in customer file information, different addresses and such, this means which system wins. So the way we have it set up right now is if there's a difference of addresses, the QuickBooks address will overwrite the Sugar address. There's a checkbox relating to syncing product items, and we're syncing by name. And then there's a bunch of checkboxes that tell you which syncs are actually live in the system. And so you'll see this is the whole universe of possible syncs right now in the integration. We're always adding new synchronizations to the product, but right now we sync accounts and customers. We send sales reps from QuickBooks to Sugar. So this is actually particularly important because it means if you only want sales reps to be able to see their own accounts in Sugar, this is configurable. It means the sales rep on an account in QuickBooks will come over and be the sales rep on an account in Sugar. And if you have your security set up properly in Sugar, and I log in and I'm a salesperson, I will only see my accounts. You don't have to do it that way, but that's an option. You can configure quotes, so we can sync quotes going to estimates, invoices, and sales orders. This shows sales history being created in Sugar from various transactions in QuickBooks. So what we're saying is we only want invoices and sales receipts to go into sales history in Sugar. We've had some users that actually want to see sales orders and estimates go into sales history, so you can flag those, but for purposes of the demo, we're not going to do that. We have inventory items going from QuickBooks to Sugar, and you can see the arrow only pointing to the left. That means the items only go from QuickBooks to Sugar. So you can add items in Sugar, but they're not going to go into QuickBooks. And so we leave the control of inventory in QuickBooks. And there's a couple advanced features for people using the advanced inventory functionality in QuickBooks. So you can have product price levels going into Sugar, and then you could have inventory sites and levels going into Sugar. And that means if you have multiple warehouses in QuickBooks and different quantities on hand in each of those warehouses, they will flow into Sugar that way as well for visibility. All right? So really that's it for the configuration. I talked a lot about the screen, but really it's a 2-minute thing to check off the things that you want to do. There's some advanced configuration and advanced functionality, but we won't get into that for purposes of the demo today. If you're interested in some of the advanced functions, we can certainly talk about that offline. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Sugar home screen. The Sugar home screen is completely definable by users. Each of these is called a dashlet, and you can move them around pretty easily. You can add dashlets with the click of a button. The point of this is to show you some cool things and to show you that all the data that comes into Sugar from QuickBooks comes in a way that's consistent with standard Sugar functionality. So you'll see a lot of data on here that's pure QuickBooks data. For example, this dashlet that says my top accounts, you can see these year-to-date sales numbers. This is data that's coming in from QuickBooks. So we can see Christy is our biggest customer. Similar here, we have a collections dashlet. Again, this is to help people if they want to focus on collections. And I have my customers with the people with the customers owing me the most. So again, Christy owes me $31,000, Pam owes me $15,000, and so on. This is data coming straight from QuickBooks as well. Additionally, I created some reports, which we'll get into a little later in the demo, but these reports are showing data from QuickBooks. A couple other things that are cool. you can do graphing with the data that comes in from QuickBooks. So for example, we have a sales history by product graph. So this shows me installation is my biggest seller. My total sales for the period, year to date, is $301,000. You can see my installation is the most, lumber, rough, whatever lumber rough is second, removal service is third, and so on. Additionally, just below that, created a sales by account as a pie chart, and we can see, okay, Christie, in this particular graphic, my total sales for the period in here is $57,000, and you can see which customers are that portion of the pie. Again, this is just standard sugar stuff. You know, you can create these in a minute or two. They're pretty quick. And I just showed you there's different kinds of graphs you can do. There's pie charts, there's vertical bar charts, there's horizontal bar charts, etc. So again, this is the home screen. Lots of great data on there. If we were to drill into an account, let's take a look at Christie. So now we're looking at an account in sugar, and you see the screen is fairly well laid out. It could look a lot of different ways. It's all very customizable, but this is sort of the standard. And it's got the name, phone number, address, some notes. This all comes in from QuickBooks. If I click on more information over here, I have even more information from QuickBooks. I can see my credit limit, last year's sales, year-to-date sales, a balance, some other things. And again, this data can be on the initial screen, this overview screen. I just happen to have it over here under more information, but this is all just definable by you guys. So again, all this data is flowing through based on the mapping. Then beneath that, we have some of the invoice history. So this is showing sales history. As you recall, we're only showing invoices and estimates because that's what we flagged in our setup options. And it's got all the invoices, the sale date, the due date, PO number, sale tool, the sales total, and then whether or not it was paid, the checkbox. So this is a great value to salespeople if they want to know what are all the invoices that we've sent to this customer, are they paid, etc. If I wanted to drill down and get more information on the invoice, I can click on it. It's a link. And I have all the invoice header information here. So I have a sales tax rate, the subtotal, sales tax total, total amount of the invoice, some other things. And then I have the line items beneath that. So I could see we sold one exterior wood door, we had a custom counter, we had 100 brass hinges, and so on. Let's go back to Christie. So this gives us all the invoice history. In addition, we get product sales history. So we can see, okay, we sold 10 of the lumbers, we sold 16 door frames, we sold 48 brass hinges, etc. We can see what our big sellers are. We can sort these things in any order we want. But we could see, oh, our cabinet pulls are, you know, we did 6,000 of. Our exterior wood doors, 2,880, etc. So again, this is really valuable information for salespeople when they're about to go into a meeting with a customer. They can pull this up on their iPad, on their phone if they wanted to, you know, on a laptop, whatever they wanted to do, and really get a great sense of what kind of products their customers are buying, if there's some receivables issues, etc. I mean, it could be right there. You could show this information on your iPad to your customer or not, but it's great data. There's some other stuff down here. This is history, so these would be emails and phone calls if you were logging those. That's standard CRM stuff. And you can see there's a bunch of, these are phone calls. There's a little phone icon, then there's a little email icon. And then beneath that, there's one of the other things that we sync if we're syncing with the advanced features of QuickBooks, which is we're syncing ship-to addresses. So again, we have a Main Street address, and we have a Bayshore, we have a LA address, a Bayshore address, and a Woodland Hills address. So that's how all the accounts that come over, and you'll see, you know, we've got 999 Larry Bird Street, and you know, here's our Christie over here, 999 Larry Bird Street. These things stay in sync, and when the sync runs, it makes sure that the addresses stay in sync, etc. The next thing I'm going to show you guys is the product catalog. So let's do that. The product catalog is where inventory items sync from QuickBooks. Now this is just a standard, what Sugar calls a list view, which is a list of all the products. And you can certainly have whatever columns you want appear here. It's all user definable. This just happens to be a bunch of information that we find to be interesting. So you could see on this one, for example, if we look at brass hinges, this type field comes from QuickBooks. So you can see it's an inventory type. You'll see down below there's some service types, some non-inventory types, some other charges. That's all coming in from QuickBooks. The next three columns, material, color, and size, are custom fields in QuickBooks. So we created custom fields in Sugar and then mapped them to each other. And we'll show you that towards the end, how that mapping works. Creating custom fields in Sugar is very straightforward. It's not a programmer thing. You know, most users can do it. Usually administrators will be the ones to do it, but it's pretty straightforward to do. You can map it. So you can see this data came in from QuickBooks. Quantity on hand came in from QuickBooks. We have year-to-date sales, year-to-date quantity, and then some basic information, the cost of the item, the list price, and a standard price. We've had some end users not want the cost to come in from QuickBooks, and because they don't want the salespeople seeing that, so you can turn that off if you want to. So that's really the product catalog. If you wanted to drill down on one of these and click on it, there's a few more pieces of information. But really, the key pieces we put there on the list view, but this is sort of the detail view. If there were multiple warehouses with different quantities on hand, you would see them under this inventory levels subpanel. So it would show you the site and the quantities in each site. This particular item doesn't have that, but that's where that would be. And again, it would have other information coming from QuickBooks, which is reorder level, on PO quantities, on sales order quantities, etc. So this is the product catalog. The product catalog is important because items in the product catalog are easily selectable when you're entering a quote. So let's take a look at some quotes. So this is a list of all the quotes in the system, and you can see, there's a subject for the quote. It tells you the sales order number related to that in QuickBooks when it's synced, the stage, and this stage is basically what you select to tell an order to go from Sugar to QuickBooks. Total amount, valid till, who the user was, etc. So if we were going to create a quote, let's create a quote. And we'll call this a cabinets for webinar order. The quote stage is really important. That's the stage that tells it whether to go to QuickBooks. And in addition, you can define where you want it to go in QuickBooks. So if you want it to be an estimate, you could say, I want that to be an estimate. If you want it to be an order, you can say, I want it to be an order. If you want it to be an invoice, you can have it be an invoice. That's your call. If you enter this in as a draft quote, then it will not sync to QuickBooks. Okay, it's not going to sync. So this allows your salespeople to start entering quotes and not complete them, or enter in a quote and print it out and give it to a customer, and then you don't have to actually send it into QuickBooks until it becomes an actual order. So that's kind of cool. We'll call that draft. You can give it a purchase order number. You can give it payment terms. You want to select the billing account. You can attach it to a person's name. If there's multiple ship-to addresses, again, this is one of the advanced features. You can pick the ship-to address from the drop-down here. Okay. And then we can go in and enter some line items. One thing to notice here also is there's a currency drop-down. So for you Canadian users, we can say, we want this to be in Canadian dollars, or US, or euros, or whatever. This is all configurable by you. There's a table where you can set up all the different currencies, and then you can map them to QuickBooks. So if we were going to enter in a quote, now we're going to enter in an item. And you can pull up a list of items and select, or you start typing, and it'll bring it up in there. By the way, you notice this little green QB? That means that this item is a valid QuickBooks item. If you did not get a green QB, it means you're entering an item that doesn't exist in QuickBooks, and so the sync's not going to work very well. All right, so we entered in that one. Let's do another one. We do light pine. This is for $1,800. And have it automatically calculated sales tax. the sales tax rates sync with QuickBooks as well. So these are the different sales tax codes set up in QuickBooks, and here they are in Sugar. And I'm going to click Save. And it saves the order. Again, it's draft, so it wouldn't sync into QuickBooks. But if we made it a QuickBooks order, it would sync in the next time the web connector ran. So that's a pretty cool thing. The other thing is there's some standard forms in this. If I wanted to print this as a PDF, this is just a standard Sugar thing. I can click Print PDF. Let's see what this looks like. And this is a standard thing. It would have your company logo here, you know, an order number, a date, the items, etc. This is just a standard form. The forms can be tweaked so they look more like what your forms look like, but that's the idea. And again, you can edit this order, you can print it, you can email it as a PDF, you can duplicate it, which is especially good for recurring orders and things like that. Let's go back to our home screen here. I just want to show you a couple reports really quick. So one of the cool reports we did was sales by account by item. And again, this is done with a standard Sugar report writer built into the system. You see there's a reports drop down here. You can create reports. And we said, okay, what we want to do is let's say I want to see all the products bought by Christy. I'm going to say Christy Abercrombie. So I'm going to pull up the list here. Oops. Hold on here. Let's do it this way. It's not empty. It's not empty. So this is a list of all my sales by all the accounts and all the products they bought. But let's say I wanted to see, show me everybody that bought cabinets. So I'm going to say cabinets. And I can see, oh, Christy is the only one who bought cabinets. That's interesting. And she bought 40 of this one and one of that one. Let's see everybody who bought lighting, or well, let's see everybody who bought framing. How about that? Okay, Pretel Real Estate bought one, and Sandman's Art Supplies bought one. So it's pretty cool that I can do that sort of thing. And let's say if I wanted to look at by customer, I could say Christy. Did I type that right? Christy. And I'm going to say it's not empty, right? And there's everything that Christy bought. So this reporting, again, it speaks to the fact that all of the data coming in from QuickBooks is available to Sugar in all the standard ways. So you can really do some cool stuff with the data. The last thing I'm going to show you, and again, you know, we've gone through accounts, we've gone through products, we've gone through quotes, and sales history. The last thing I'm going to show you is how the mapping works. If I scroll to the bottom of our admin screen here, we already looked at the QuickBooks integration configuration. Let's take a look at the QuickBooks and Sugar field mapping. It's pretty easy to use, pretty intuitive. So for example, if we went to look at the inventory mapping, because we talked about that a little bit, you'll notice, you'll see here, the QuickBooks color field, which was a custom field added, is set to flow into a custom field in Sugar called color. And we know that it's custom because there's an _C after it. If I wanted to do some other custom mapping, I just pull up a list of all my QuickBooks fields and say, there's a sub-level field. And I want to go into an ID field. And that's it. I save this. If I click Add, this new mapping is now going to be there, and the next time the items sync, those fields will sync as well. It's really that easy to do the mapping. Now, these mappings come with the software, so you know when it gets installed, there'll be these standard mappings in there. You don't have to go in here and do anything. But the idea is that if you add fields later into QuickBooks or into Sugar, you don't have to call us back. You don't need special programming. You don't have to redo anything. You just go in here and pull the fields down off the list. So it's pretty easy to use, pretty intuitive. And again, the idea is that you can be as self-sufficient as possible. And every time your business changes a little bit, you don't have to call us back and have us reprogram the integration. The integration should hopefully last and last as you go. And I think that's most of the stuff I had in the demo. Adrian, were there any questions? Did anybody have anything they wanted to talk about specifically?
We have a couple people requesting the recording, and we are recording this, everybody, so we will get you a copy of the recording. I did have some polls I wanted to launch too while the audience is thinking of more questions. And I'm going to go ahead and launch the first poll. Are you interested in learning more about the Sugar CRM QuickBooks integration? If the audience can answer that, that would be terrific. And I'm going to go ahead and close that poll out and share those results. Looks like 100% of you are interested in learning more about the QuickBooks integration. And then we do have just a couple more polls, and I will look to see if there's more questions. Are you currently using Sugar CRM? And David, while we're answering that poll, where do you specifically set the security levels?
Well, in Sugar, there's a whole security section, and with each user that's set up in Sugar, you assign them to a role, and it's role-based security. So you can say this person is a salesperson, this person is a sales manager, this person is a accounting clerk, etc. And then based on that, based on your role, you would have access to various options within each of these modules. Each of these things at the top are called modules, so accounts, contacts, quotes, etc. And then within each module, you can say whether they have read-only access, whether they can edit or write to it, whether there's certain subpanels within a module they should or shouldn't be able to see, and etc. Or, should they only be able to have access to customers that belong to them. As you can see here, let's see where it would be. You can see there's an assigned to field here under this customer. It's blank right now. And then there's a team field that says global. So you can restrict access to customers or other kinds of records based on who they're assigned to or who the team is. So, you can have a sales team, you can have a Western sales team, all that kind of stuff. You can configure all that pretty easily just based on roles and based on teams and assigned tos.
And can the dashboard be color customized?
Yeah, so as I said, you can drag stuff around like this, right? If I want to,
now
to add something to this screen. And this is standard Sugar stuff, by the way. This isn't necessarily specific to the integration, but I'll show you this. So you would click Add Sugar Dashlets, right? And these are the modules you can pick from. So you can pick anything you wanted to. Then you could do charts if you wanted. So let's put a chart on this page. So let's say I wanted sales by account to be on here. And this is a report that we created. There you go. So the answer is yes, it can be customized, as you just saw. And by the way, if I wanted this to go away, I could just click the X and make it go away. For things like this, if I wanted to change how this appeared, I could click Edit Sugar Dashlet, and I can say which columns I wanted to show up. Whoops. So I wanted the website URL to go there. I actually just moved the website URL over. And how many rows do you want? Do I want 5 or 10? Let's have 10. I can filter it by team, so if I only want a certain team on this, etc. If I click Save, now there's a website column. There's no websites in there, but you get the idea.
All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any further questions. Thank you, everybody, for spending time with us this morning to learn a little bit more about this integration. and we will follow up with all of you. And David, did you have anything left that you wanted to close with?
No, just the only thing I'd say is, as a company, we've been doing this a long time. We've been working with a lot of different ERP and CRM solutions over the years. And, from a CRM standpoint, we've worked with most of them. And about 4 years ago, we came across Sugar, and we loved Sugar so much that we dropped all the other CRM solutions that we represented. And that included, Sage and Microsoft and a few others. We really think Sugar is a great product, in terms of its customizability, its ease of use, its power, its price point. It's a great product, and we really love it. And so, as I said, we dropped all our other products just to focus on Sugar because we dig it so much. And I just wanted to leave you with that thought.
And David, we do have one more question if we can keep you. They would like to see the costs versus Salesforce. Do you just have a ballpark number that you might be able to throw out there in comparing Salesforce to Sugar CRM?
Yeah, well, Sugar is the professional version, which has pretty much all the features that most of our clients need. I mean, there are 4 different versions of Sugar. There's a professional version, a corporate version, an enterprise version, and an ultimate version. The Pro version is $35 per user per month, and 95% of our clients get the Pro version. It has virtually everything that you would ever need, and in terms of a CRM. The enterprise version has a customer web portal feature. So if that's something that's important to you, you might want to look at that. But really, the Pro version works for most people. It's $35 per user per month. And for comparable features from Salesforce, it tends to be at least double that and many times more than that, depending on what you're looking for. So the average price we've seen for Salesforce has been $75 per user per month, but sometimes it ends up at $100 or $125 per user per month, compared to a comparable version of Sugar, which is at $35. So Sugar compares pretty well on a cost basis with Salesforce.
And is there a report that tells you what is about to be synced before it actually happens?
No, but there's a log that shows you what was synced afterwards. So I don't know if that's good enough. If that's something that's because the sync is running pretty frequently, and so with most of our end users, they haven't had the need to see it ahead of time. If that's something that's important, it's certainly something that can be added pretty easily into the product, but we haven't had that request.
And there's literally thousands of applications that integrate with Sugar CRM. So as a Sugar CRM user, David, can you just go to some sort of app exchange where you can purchase other applications as well to enhance Sugar?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a place called Sugar Exchange, and I haven't done this today, so hopefully this link works since everybody's watching, but there it is, Sugar Exchange. And so the Sugar Exchange is a Sugar marketplace. There's thousands of tools on here. Our Sugar QuickBooks integration is on here as well. And pretty much, most things you can think of in terms of integrations with Sugar would be here. I mean, all of our products are on here. There's also another link place called Sugar Outfitters. So that shows you how great Sugar is. There's actually 2 different marketplaces for Sugar stuff, And actually there's a couple of ours right here. The Sugar Constant Contact integration is ours, and the Sage integration is ours. So yes, there are there's a couple marketplaces for add-ons to Sugar, and and they continue to grow.
So perfect. I think that we've addressed all the questions. Let me just take one more quick look to make sure. Yes, it looks like we've addressed all the questions that are presented at this time. If you do have another question, please go ahead and raise your hand, and that'll let me know that you have another question. If not, we'll go ahead and close it out. We do have David's contact information on the screen along with Jake. And either of those two should be able to answer any questions should you have any. And David, will Jake be following up with everybody on the line?
Jake or Kimberly, somebody from our company will be following up with you from Fay Business Systems Group, so it'll be Jake Ludekoffer or Kim Douglas.
Perfect. Well, thank you, David. This is a great presentation, and thanks again, everybody, for joining us.
All right. Thanks, Adrian. Have a
Have
good
a
day,
great
everybody.
day. All right. Bye-bye.